Welcome back to Forged. You guys know this podcast exists for a lot of great conversations. Today is a special one. I have a friend with me. Shawn is in the house, as they say, but I want to have a conversation based upon current dating life. And this may challenge you a little bit, and I'm okay with that. This may also rub you the wrong way, and I'm even better okay with that because I want you to think. I don't want you to think a certain way. I just want you to think. And there's a lot of conversation in the world today around dating, relationships, marriage, traditional, non traditional, whatever it is. So we're going to dive into all that today. But in the meantime, I want Shawn just to give us a little bit of background on where he grew up, kind of how you got to be where you are right now, influences of family, faith, things that are important to you. And then we're going to dive into some great questions about the current dating world in Shawn's eyes. Jump in.
All right. Yeah, my name's Shawn Evans. I live here in Scottsdale. I grew up in a little town in Oregon called Boring. I'm not joking. Yeah, I grew up
I
there.
never knew that.
Lived the majority of my life there. Grew up on a ranch. Honestly, had a great childhood. I would say for me, it was really heavy with principles from the Midwest. I have a lot of ties to the state of Nebraska.
Nice.
And so a lot of the way I was raised is probably more Midwestern than anything else. And you probably see that in me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm 36. I've been in Arizona for about 7 years. And yeah.
Why did you choose Arizona?
Chose Arizona originally, just the weather. There's something so unique about the Sonoran Desert because it's the only place where there's.
I agree.
It is the Sonoran Desert, right? And then being able to drive and an hour and a half and be in the pines. I love the outdoors, so Arizona is just a great fit, and I love sun, and I don't think I could ever live anywhere.
No, I hear you.
Where else?
So give me your athletic background because I know that's a big foundation for you too.
Yeah, I was an all-state high school quarterback in Oregon. I played up through high school. I played both football and basketball. Did pretty well at both those sports. Ran track more as just a thing to help train for football.
Mm-hmm.
Went to state in it, but it wasn't anything that was like a specialty of mine. Played football in college, switched positions, played tight end, became an All-American college football player, had opportunities to play professionally, didn't end up sticking, and I originally got into sports performance and worked with athletes and did that until the last couple of years, and then I've been involved in real estate and some other things as well. So
when you say things didn't work out, what I know there was a tragic thing that you went through when you were younger. Can you talk more about that? Because I think that one of the things that I like Forge to do is the messages of adversity, things that we go through, because I think that the world teaches you to numb them, to not experience them, to not get on the other side, and I know that you did.
Yeah. So when I was either 16 or 17 at the time. If I was 17, I had just turned 17. My dad, I'm pretty sure he was diagnosed when I was 16 with stage 4 prostate cancer. It was actually the second cancer thing that I had seen when in my family. My mom was diagnosed when I was younger with ovarian cancer, but it ended up being a misdiagnosis. So she had a hysterectomy, and they were wrong.
Oh, wow.
So that was the second time I actually had dealt with it in my life. It was, had probably just turned 17. My dad wrote me a letter. It basically said how to help raise my sister, take care of my mom, take care of his parents, who they had already lost their other child at that point. So, how to dissolve his businesses.
How to be a man.
Yeah. And like I said, I was freshly 17 at this time. And he sent me to school. And he did live for quite a while longer. But that was the surgery that he was having, and he was in such bad shape that, there was a chance that he wouldn't even make it through
the surgery.
Yeah. So, we fought that battle for a long time. That's why I didn't go to like a Division I college to play college football, and I played at smaller colleges, was to try to make sure that he could see me play football while he was still alive. And he battled it all the way through. I mean, the problem was it just kept metastasizing to, it went from prostate cancer into his prostate bed, then it got into his bones, and then it just became kind of cancer of everything. And at the end there, he had cancer that was basically eating holes in his spine. And so he would start to go paralyzed. So he had his spine rebuilt, and he lived for maybe another year and a half after that, and then eventually he did pass away. But to give you a little bit of background on my dad, who is my dad and my grandpa are the two best human beings I've ever met in my life, and the two most influential human beings that I've ever been around. My dad, when I was a kid, he broke his knee. He was an excavating contractor, and he broke his kneecap in half on the job. And he came home that night, and he went back to work the next day. And driving a dump truck, working on a backhoe. When he had cancer, how we kind of figured something was wrong with him is he wouldn't get out of bed one day. He just couldn't. And he had been really struggling, but it wasn't like him to not get out of bed. And he tried and he couldn't. So my mom took him to the hospital, and they found out that his ribs had broke off at his spine.
Oh, wow.
And they said, not only did your ribs break off, but you've been working like this for weeks.
Oh my gosh.
And so that was my dad for you. He was a tough man. I used to watch him walk up to the house from the shop, and he had no testosterone in his body because he had to take Lupron to slow the spread of his cancer. And so he'd shift his 18-speed dump truck probably 1,000 times a day. And for him to walk 300 feet would take him a good 10, 12 minutes probably, because he just would hobble. But I mean, that's where I got my principles from, right? This is a man that would have literally sacrificed everything for his family. And, I mean, I couldn't be more grateful to have.
That was your example.
Yeah, to have that be my example.
Yep. So going through that as a young kid, what do you think that actually gave you to where you are right now? Because we talk about this, there's definitely a uniqueness to who you are. Yeah. How you see in the world, and why, the whole dating conversation I think is an important one. But, going through stuff like that, it there's a residual that it kind of imprints onto you. Yeah. What do you think that like those things are, besides principles and that, but what do you think behavior-wise?
Well, I think it's a blessing and a curse, right? I think the long game of this, I think, will make me a tremendous husband and a tremendous father. I think those will be two of the best things that I ever do when that time comes. I think that, my dad, he instilled so many principles in both me and my sister, but I think for me, it's always been a little bit tough, because here I am 17 years old, and I'm a man.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, he gave you that ability.
The man of the house. And
right.
So, I mean, after he passed, and, I became so fiercely, I guess, protective over everybody else in my family that's left, right? And I'm kind of fiercely protective over him in ways, because I watched this man who was this super strong guy that I looked up to, who to me was Superman. He was the ultimate man. I never looked up to anybody like I looked up to my dad. And so to watch cancer physically tear him down to basically a version of him that I had never seen, and him no longer be able to defend himself the way that he could have.
Right.
It would drive me up a wall. And so I think that that kicked on, those, I guess, protective instincts in me at a very, very young age. And now I have a tough time, because I've been on my own and done life in such a different capacity than most kids that are in high school and college, right? And so I just had to live a completely different life. And so I think that's just made me a lot older than I actually am. So I think I see the world much more similarly to people that are probably like mid 40s and 50s.
Well, do you think it's given you, in for a lack of a better thing, do you think it's given you a sense of urgency more in your life?
I don't think it's given me a sense of urgency more, but what I do think it's done is just let me see the world in a different light. So like,
Makes total sense.
it's really easy for me to see the value. Like it's really easy for me to look at people and realize how special people are.
Right.
It's really easy for me to understand how valuable and important love is. And I've always kind of been that person that literally, there's a quote that says, love is literally the whole point. And I'm such a huge believer in that because I see how important good people are and how much they impact your life, and that really is everything. I mean, the relationships that we develop are the most important things we'll ever have because they grow you, right?
Right.
Like you get yourself around somebody, like they make you want to level up. And so I think it's just made me see the world with a depth that not everyone can see. I know one of the struggles that I really struggle with is, and this has been a thing with relationships with me, and it is one of the saddest lessons I've ever learned, is sometimes you can see the world in a certain way and with a depth that other people can't.
Right.
And that whole part of you is not seen by them. And that is, it's so tough. And, you got to go try to find people that can see you in that way.
Yeah.
But,
well, it's hard to forgive that because they don't have your experience, your point of reference, your lived experience. And so what you're seeing seems so natural and normal to you, but to the other people. So off of that, dating. So when you were dating in your 20s, what's different than dating in your 30s?
Well, I think dating in your 20s the world was a lot different back then. I mean, the world has just changed dramatically, especially since COVID. But dating in your 20s,
lost his mind.
Dating in your 20s, I think it was just more natural. I think that you didn't put as much emphasis on like things you were looking for. Back then it was just more like you found somebody that you liked and you started spending time with them, and a lot of times there was chemistry and a connection, and
it's funny that you use sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but just want to get this thought. It's funny that you use the word natural because I had this conversation with a client the other day, and she was talking about Tom and I.
Yeah.
And I said, there wasn't like this calculated intentionality. We were friends, we met in the gym, all that kind of great stuff, but there was just a natural state that you just liked the person, you enjoyed your time, and there was nothing that was like, okay, wait a minute. And Tom and I met when he was 20. I was 27, so he was 29. And it's so funny because it just was a state of being.
Yeah. And
in today, it's like it's such a calculated intentionality around it. Do you agree or disagree?
No, I definitely agree. I think back then the term equally yoked didn't refer to as many things as it does today.
Yeah, true.
So I think the term, it used to just be kind of like, do you align on like religion, basically, right?
Yeah.
And that was kind of the main thing. And I think nowadays there's a whole slew of different things that the moral grounds have to be the same. And I think, politically people are very divided. So a lot of times that doesn't work.
Right.
And then I think, you factor in like how are you going to raise children and all that. And I think that's really changed.
100%.
From when I was in my 20s to my 30s, because the world has changed so much post-COVID. So I think people put a huge emphasis on those things. And I think just like the thing I notice a lot now being in my 30s is just the lack of genuine connection. Like I rarely ever connect with people the way I used to.
Yeah.
And I mean,
what do you think the contributing factors are for that?
I just think, I think a lot of it is just how the world's changed. I think social media has changed us a lot. So we don't talk to
dating
each other.
apps.
Yeah, we don't talk to each other face to face. Dating apps have given people what they think is options. Same with social media. Like there are a lot of options, but you think they're options. They're not.
Right.
They're like, So you get on a dating app and let's say you have 300 matches, because I know this, especially for women, this is the case. I hear it all the time. Girls I'm friends with, they'll tell me their experiences. There's a ton of girls I know that just got on dating apps and just have match after match after match after match. The problem is if you have all those matches, how many of those people are ever going to respond if you message them?
Right.
Not many of them.
Right.
And then if they do respond, how many of them are looking for anything like what you're looking for? Not many.
Right.
And all of a sudden you whittle it down and you realize you don't have a lot of options. Social media will give you that illusion that, you know, you can post a picture, especially if you're a girl on social media, and this is guys' faults. Like, guys are simps. Like, honestly, guys are going to comment on girls' bikini photos and all that. And like, and OnlyFans has been a huge factor in this.
Huge.
Like,
Yeah.
Guys have elevated girls for basically nothing, for straight looks, right? And so you can take a girl that otherwise wouldn't get attention back in the day because they didn't really like bring another skill to the table other than looking good, which fades for all of us.
Right.
It's not a skill. It's not something that's going to last forever.
Right.
And so I think that, you know, people just, they think they have all these options and they really don't.
No.
And I think what's happened, the flip of that
when you use the word illusion, you were right.
Well, yeah. And what I see that really is the saddest part of this whole entire thing is people think they have so many options, so they throw away good things.
Right.
And I see this time and time again. I've been involved in this. I've watched it happen to my friends. I've watched it happen to really, really great people. They just get discarded.
Yeah, because there may be something better.
Correct. And you see that that is one of the biggest things I think you see in today's dating world is everybody's looking for like the next best thing. Mm-hmm. And so they might be in a relationship with you, but they're secretly waiting for something better to come along.
Yeah.
And
here's the thing with that. It's kind of like when you said you were in real estate, right? Yeah. It reminds me of the same thing. It's like I find a home that I absolutely love. I'm going to put my money down. I'm going to buy it. I'm all in. I'm going to make it my home, right? I'm always going to see another house that I think I really like too. Yeah. Right? But it comes down to that word contentment. It comes down to the word commitment, right? I mean, does that make sense?
It comes down to, in my opinion, there is no perfect relationship. There is no perfect person. At some point, you have to choose somebody that aligns on the morals that are absolutely imperative for you.
Yeah, non-negotiables.
Those non-negotiables have to be there because that's your bottom line foundation, right? Yeah. But if you're
So then do you believe in a soulmate or no?
So this is a good one. So I used to believe like it was like one person. That's the person. I don't anymore. I think that you can build a really great life with probably multiple people. Okay. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I don't think there's one person out there that would be the absolute best fit because I do believe in that.
Yeah.
And I do believe God brings those people to you.
Agreed.
But with free will, I think God allows a lot of things to happen. God allows people to fumble really good people.
Yeah.
God
do you believe in love at first sight?
I don't know.
Or is that actually a lustful attraction?
I think it's a lustful attraction to some extent.
Okay.
But it's really interesting because looking back on the girls that I've been the most attracted to right off the bat, like I can think of one girlfriend I had, for instance, that like the first time I ever saw her, I was just like, that girl's special. And I didn't really know her, but like she was special.
Yeah.
She was. And so I think, I don't know that I really believe in that until you really get to truly know somebody. Mm-hmm. But I do love when you can like actually look at somebody. When you're looking at like pictures on a dating app, for instance, I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people on dating apps and then I've gone on a date with them and I was like gravely disappointed because we spent all this time talking and there was a really great conversation and then you see them in person and you're just like, it's not a match. It's just not a match. Like,
but what you said too, Shawn, about love, I mean, I think that because like Tom and I have been married 31 years. So I think that you choose to love that person
absolutely
over and over and over and over again.
That was kind of one of the things that I wanted to talk about was love is a choice as much as it is a feeling. And I think one of the things we really lack in society right now is realizing that there are people that would show up for you every single day
Mm-hmm.
and always choose you. And a lot of times we just are not interested in those people.
Right. There's no value there, I think.
People should be interested in those
Mm-hmm.
people because that is how you have a long, sustainable marriage.
Right.
I mean, you have to find somebody that wants to choose you in every situation, and not when it's good, when it's bad, because it's not always going to be good. There are going to be bad days. And you think about when you get married, I've gone through this, right? So like I've already, and it wasn't just my dad, it was my mom's dad died in a pretty horrific way when I was younger. I've lost some friends to death, and then it was my dad, then it was my dad's parents, who I was very, very, very close to. I mean, it's my dad, one, my dad's dad is 1A, my grandpa.
Yeah.
I mean, those are probably the two closest people I've ever, been with. But I think that like your partner is going to be there most likely when your parents die.
Yes.
Like that in the middle of the night, that's the person you choose to marry is the person that's going to comfort you when
you lose the most important thing. Yes.
When they go to the other side, that's who's going to be there for you. And I think when you get into like, and this is like why I think biblically marriages are, I think it's important for people to understand, whether you're religious or not, kind of what the Bible says about marriage, right? And like talking about how you're like leaving your family and creating your own family.
Yes.
Cleaving
to your wife. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't understand that. I don't think they realize like that person that you choose is the most important person the rest of the way.
Yeah.
That is the most important, not your family.
No.
That person, not your kids, that person.
Yeah.
Because the kids will eventually leave. You're always going to have that person.
Yeah.
And hopefully someday, like John Deloney says, when one of you is putting the other one in the ground, part of you is going in the ground with them.
Yeah.
And I think that's...
And it's interesting though, Shawn, because I think people have a hard time understanding that whole big scope of what the vision that you just kind of put out. Yeah. I got beat up so much one day because I said that my husband, it's God and then my husband and then my children.
Yep.
And people were just like, you're horrible, you're thinking about, I'm like, no, because my kids passed through my life.
Correct.
My husband right now is it's God and then Tom.
I've always been a huge believer in that it has to be that way. Now, I'm not saying if the house isn't on fire, you aren't getting all of them.
Totally.
And I mean, I am fighting for all of them. If somebody is, going to harm my family, I'm fighting relentlessly the same for all of them. But as far as like, when it comes to who has to come slightly ahead, your husband or wife always has to come slightly ahead before the children. Right. And that's just because the children will create their own lives someday.
Yes.
And they will not be in that house someday.
No.
But your husband or wife will.
Yeah. McKenna and I talked about that. So she has 2 boys, and she said she wants a girl. And I said, why? She goes, my boys are going to leave me, and they're going to want nothing to do with me. My girl, at least, is like still, will still be close to mom, And it's funny how the whole dynamic thing, like what's your take on, like, I know you're close to your mom, right? So, and I mean, we hear all kinds of horror stories. I lived with it with Tom's mom, unfortunately. But what's your take on that? Like, how do you handle, like, if you get married and your relationship, like, how do you handle that with, like, from a place of loyalty and, caretaking, but yet also, like what you said, my wife is first. Like, how does that actually sound in a conversation?
Are you talking like what it would be like with my own mom or with like her parents?
With you and your mom.
Yeah, I mean, I would always do anything I could for my mom. I think my mom knows that. Between me and my sister, my mom will always be taken care of. She never needs to have any doubts. Just like I have watched my mom sacrifice to take care of her mom. I mean, they live together, and it's not always easy. And I feel for my mom at times because I don't think people realize how hard it is. I mean, my mom lost her dad in a horrific way, and she lost her husband, and she's been on her own the entire time, and so now she takes care of my grandma, who's about to be 95, and until she passes on. And I mean, I'll always take care of my mom, but like, and my mom would understand this if you asked her, she would tell you like whoever was my wife would need to come first.
But see, that's the beautiful part is your mom would understand that.
Yeah,
That's a great thing.
I mean, yeah, my mom's, sees the bigger picture on those things. I think that it's hard because a lot of times people do let their families influence things, right?
Right. Well, you do marry the family, like it or not. You
yes.
do.
And I think it's so when you're looking, like when you're dating, right? Ultimately, like, man, if you can marry into families, because I can look back on relationships where I'm like, man, when the girl had a great mom and dad, it sure made things easier.
Yeah,
it really did.
It does. It does.
And I look at that with like you and Tom and like whoever, marries into your family. Like, when it comes to your daughter, they just won the lottery. Right? They just won the lottery.
I'm working for it. I'm working for it.
So, I think that's super important. I think that if they aren't always easy to work with, I think there has to be boundaries, right? I think they have to know that it comes first. And I would always, on the flip of this, I've thought about this, is, if I had a wife and her parents weren't as over the top about that I would try everything I possibly could to bring them into our lives and show them, hey, this is what we do, this is our vision, this is where we want to go.
But what you just said, I think, is a big thing. It's bringing people together. It's not isolating. And I think sometimes that message gets a little mixed in there to where it's like, I want to be inclusive, but I always tell my girls, you will always have a key to my house. I will not have a key to your house.
The thing is that, and I think this can be said for relationships too, and I'm sure you're going to agree on this. So one of the biggest things I see out there right now that's really bad is misery loves company.
Mm-hmm.
So, and what I mean by that is a lot of good relationships have been lost because people listen to bad advice.
Yes.
So we've talked a lot about this, where if you have a neutral person that doesn't have anything, any one side.
No skin in the game.
Yeah, no skin in the game.
Yeah.
That's a person you can talk to about your relationship. Yeah. But what you shouldn't be going and doing is having an in-depth conversation about the negative aspects of your relationship to like your parents or to a sibling or to your friends. And a lot of times friends, especially, I've noticed this a lot, friends don't like when you get in a relationship, especially if they're single, because now they just lost people to hang out with. And
you broke an emotional contract with them too, but your advice, Shawn, is really spot on, because I think that is it's hard. You don't bring people into your relationship that can have a bias, and I think that's really is a killer. The neutral person. That's why I love to coach with couples, is because I'm the neutral person. So I can hear both sides, and I'll be honest with you. Yeah. When you bring in someone else, or you also are in a bad mood, right, and you vent about your partner, that person remembers that, and the next time you're having a little weak moment, they're going to literally blow that back up.
Correct. Big believer in, like, those kind of conversations stay internal in your relationship or are only had with a neutral person.
Yeah, agree.
They don't go to family, they don't go to siblings, they don't go to friends.
No.
Because what happens so much of it is no one knows what goes on inside of a relationship.
Right.
You're just getting an angle because no one's seeing what's going on at home.
There's no context.
Yeah, there is no context. And in a world, in today's world, where accountability does not seem to be a thing, it really doesn't. Accountability is just entirely gone out the window. What happens is you get a lot of people that just enable your behaviors.
Yeah.
And then if you're the significant other on the other end trying to help elevate the relationship, elevate that person, now you're all of a sudden seen as a problem because you're like, well, you're just trying to get me to change. Or, well, no, I'm not trying to get you to change.
No.
What I think a lot of people are trying to do is trying to get you to elevate yourself, which is what
that's the
we
right
both
word.
should be doing.
That's
we should
the right
both
word.
be elevating each other, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, why would you want to be with somebody that's not going to make you want to be a better person? Yeah. And
what do you see? What do you see in some of the girls that you've dated recently versus, like, what do you think? I know this is like a really loaded question. I mean, it's like, obviously we know culture has changed and shifted, right? It's like you have all the social media labels that fly around. Yeah. But when you get down to it, What do you think is the biggest obstacle? And you can't probably just nail down one, but the biggest obstacle to actually connect and create a really healthy relationship in today's world. I mean, I know you said a little bit ago, just a couple things with communication and things like that.
Yeah.
But honestly, I mean, I think there's a lot of influence and a lot of like broken parents raising kids that are not healthy. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go into it, right? But what do you see in your experience that you've actually had real life with that you think was something that like there's an influence here that is bigger than just outside of their family, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's something bigger that's going on with the messaging, I think.
I think a lot of people are so lost, and so I think what happens is initially a lot of people want to do things the right way, right? And I think the right way is maybe a little different for everybody because a lot of it depends on what your moral beliefs are. But what I would tell you is that I think a lot of people, they try to do that, and then what happens is they start getting in relationships that doesn't work for them. They get their heart broken, and all of a sudden they get a little bitter, or they're just like, okay, screw this, I'm done trying to do it this way. And then they just kind of like fall to the ways of the world. And that's where I think, actually, I think that's where like a lot of girls' promiscuity kind of comes from, is that they try to use that for like like as a way to get attention and validation. And I don't necessarily think that if you truly sat that girl down and asked her what she really thinks, I don't really think that's what she wants to do. I think that's almost like a thing where she feels like she has to do that, but I don't think she was naturally wired that way, right?
Yeah. Something else came in and interrupted something.
Correct.
I agree.
And so I think you have a lot of people that were at one point probably trying to do things the right way. We're probably trying to have solid relationships, and then I think all of a sudden it didn't work. So, but they wanted attention, they wanted validation, and so they
that was the next best thing.
They resort to situationships and showing off their body to get attention, and because they don't want to be alone.
Yeah.
And people don't want to be alone. I don't love being alone, but I am better at it than most by a lot. Like I am pretty good at being on my own, and by all means, it's not something that I want forever or that I would that I love. I've always been more fulfilled in relationships than I have been on my own, just because I enjoy doing life with somebody. It makes little things fun.
Yeah.
Going to the grocery
Where do you
store.
think the biggest disconnect is between guys today and girls today? That also was a loaded question.
Well, I mean, I think I think a lot of guys want peace. I think that's becoming a huge thing. I think a lot of guys want peace.
Yeah.
Guys want respect. And I think a lot of girls a lot of relationships period are very transactional.
Yeah.
A lot of girls I see, it's what can you do for me? And a lot of these girls don't have any of the skills that you would want to be in someone that's like going to be the mother of your children.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of good girls out there. But what I think is happening is good people are having trouble finding each other.
Yeah.
And
so Shawn is launching a dating app. I'm just kidding.
No. Yeah, I have dating apps. No,
I'm just kidding.
Let's not do that. But I think that's one of them. I think communication. I think that girls especially, but guys too, monkey branching is what I call it.
Right.
I think they're in something, but they're looking for something
Yeah.
else. And I think what that does is I think you can almost sense that. I know for me as a man that, like, I've never been in a relationship with a girl and me inherently not wanting to treat her like she's the center of my world.
Right.
But the problem becomes is that she has to behave in a way that makes me want to give that to her. And if she won't behave in that way, then all of a sudden there's going to be a pullback.
Somebody's going to pull back.
My end,
yeah.
right. And
then on the flip side of that, it's the same thing for the girls,
correct.
right? It's like the girls.
Yeah.
I mean, like I had this conversation with one of my young clients. I mean, you want to make dinner for him, you want to take care of him, you want to do these things, but if he never shows that back, as far as like, it's kind of like what we said before, a man wants to be the leader, right? And he wants a woman to submit and follow. Yeah. But my biggest question is, are you a man worth following?
Right.
And I think that goes back and forth on there. It's like a seesaw. You know, it's like one time we have the guys showing up incredibly, and then we have the girls that aren't, and then we have the girls that like, well, then if he's not going to do that, then I got to do it. And that is the dynamic. It's a cyclical thing.
Yeah, and it ruins the relationship because
totally.
What happens is eventually like one side's got walls up, one side, then you're trying to put your walls down, and then the second you put your walls down, the other person pulls back, and now you're like, okay, what's going on here? And I mean, I think there's just a lot of like chaos, and I'll be honest, I think a lot of people are just used to chaos. So I think when people get in healthy stuff, they feel it's boring to them.
It's not comfortable, and it's not recognized.
And I think people, because we've gotten so transactional, what I see is I see a lot of people that are like all about like, where are we going to go to dinner? Where are we going to go on vacation? What fun things are we going to go do? And
which is the micro stuff.
You know this as being married for, as long as you've been married. That's not what makes a relationship. What makes a relationship, like who you want to marry is the person you can do nothing with. Who you want to marry is the person you can go to the grocery store.
It's the most important decision you'll ever make.
Like it's all like the mundane, normal day-to-day lives. It's like when you're going to clean your house, it's more fun to do that with your best friend.
Yeah.
And that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And
and it's not the big grandiose things either, Shawn. It's like leaving a little note and just saying
simple doesn't exist anymore.
No, it doesn't.
And
it doesn't.
And when simple is there, it's not respected. So like simple dates are not a thing anymore, I've noticed. Small gestures that like, and that's tough for me because that's how I say I love you a lot to people. Like, if you've dated me, like you would that like I do little things that say I love you.
Yeah.
Like, and you have to like, but you have to know me enough to like see
that's
that.
your love
like,
language.
Yeah, there's little tiny things that I'll do that like are another way of me just saying I love you. And but sometimes people miss that.
People miss that, I think, too, because like you said, the simple part, like Tom's the guy, like with the girls, he's the guy that will check Boo's tires and make sure she has gas and change the windshield wiper before she goes on a trip or whatever,
Right.
and it becomes, she will expect that, right? This is somebody who cares about me. And I think that so many dads don't do that with their girls. No. So their girls don't even know that's the values there.
And this is, I think that's one of the most important things that I will say is coming from a man, like your relationship with your father is everything.
Yeah.
So like guaranteed almost every good woman I know has a great relationship with her father.
Yeah.
And that is something that I have seen, and that's something like that I really look for in a woman is like, what's your relationship like with your father? Because if they have a great relationship, chances are they're a high value woman with solid morals.
Yeah.
And one thing you don't want to get into, in my opinion, in dating is wasting time with trying to like get somebody to see morals from your perspective.
Yeah.
Because it's a losing battle and it's a waste of your time, and in the end almost every time you're just going to get your heart broken.
Yeah.
You're going to get deep feelings for somebody that isn't going to see the world the way that you see it, and you just be better off going and finding somebody, like being patient and finding people that align in that way. Like you have to have that base set, because otherwise you're just never going to feel comfortable or
I agree.
Truly, what I would say, like your nervous system's always going to know something's off. And you never feel mentally and emotionally safe in a relationship if you don't have that solid base. And
I agree with you.
There's so many things out there that I feel like right now is hard. I mean, I think loyalty has become almost non-existent. I think that's one. I think cheating and lying is just seen as basically okay at this
It's
point.
accepted.
It's really is accepted.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand like that, and a lot of it is people are trying to date 10 people at once, and
don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, but it is. I mean,
there
are people out there doing that, and then they just think that's the norm.
Yeah.
And so then you have somebody come along that's like actually invested in them, and then that person's saying a whole bunch of things, and you think you're only dating that person, and you're not, and it creates you ruin good things.
Yeah.
You do.
No, I agree.
And,
okay, you got to bust this myth for me.
Okay.
So I have a lot of young girls I coached way back that were like 15, 16, 17. Now they're like mid-20s, right?
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things that they had, it was in like these high school relationships, which I understand that there's an immaturity level there too. But now we fast forward and these girls finally get this. So when a guy has an opinion about what they dress and how they carry themselves and where they go with their friends, girls look at it as control.
Correct.
So explain it from a guy's perspective.
To me, it's not controlling. Now, I'm not saying that that certain guys aren't
No,
controlling.
it
'Cause
is
that
existed, but I'm
that does
talking about
exist.
in like,
But
you know.
so to me, I look at it as more of like a safety thing. So like, how you dress is just, to me, it's pretty simple. If you're a good looking girl, everybody knows you're good looking. Like you could show up with a hoodie and super baggy sweats and people are still going to know you're good looking.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to dress super revealing for people to know you have a good figure, a nice body, like all of that. I think from a man's perspective, like when a guy's looking at you as like a potential wife, like we want something that's more sacred. We want something that not everybody else can have, right?
Right.
And so I think that's basically women are born with value, and men, and they're trying to preserve their value. Men have to create their value, and so I think women who can't be touched by the whole world are really like it's just
They're
way more
rubies. It goes
attractive.
back to the
Yeah.
Bible.
Yeah, you really are.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of it. I think a lot of times the shenanigans that happen with guys' night out or girls' night out is not healthy for a relationship. And I think if you're going to choose to be in a relationship, if you're out there doing something wrong.
Yeah, of course.
And
I think there's a lack of respect for yourself, for the relationship, and for your partner.
There's a lack of respect, period,
Yeah.
in relationships. Respect is one of the other keys that's really, really lacking. Discipline is lacking.
We talked about that. Discipline's huge.
I'll never, ever date anybody that's not a disciplined person ever again. This was not something I understood until I would say we probably talked about this in like the last 5 or 6 months, but it's not something that I understood how important it was until about then. I mean,
yeah,
lack of discipline there's temptation everywhere. And if you're not a disciplined person, I want nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
It's just,
that's a hard line for you then.
It is 100%. It's become something that is very, very important for me to be with a disciplined person. Also, like, I'm such a disciplined person in so many ways.
Right.
Like, and it's hard for me because with my drive and my discipline, if I am with somebody that isn't like that, then I can't really be me, and it's hard for me to grow because a lot of what makes me is tied to like my discipline and my drive, and I think there's a lot of benefit like down the road what I'll bring to the table as a man, in a marriage, as a father, all of that, but I need to be able to do that in order to, so I need somebody that can see that and be disciplined as well.
Okay, you're married and your wife says, would you rather have me made up and dressed all sexy before you come home? Would you rather have a nice warm dinner and meal at there, or would you want to go out? What would you say?
Definitely not go out. Going out, it really just because there's so few places to go out nowadays where like food quality is decent, and the food that we put in our body is so important. I don't want to not feel good, and when I eat clean and healthy, I just feel better. So that to me is really important. It would probably be to have like a meal. I
At
really
home.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
I couldn't care less what you're wearing. I really couldn't.
Girls get that so wrong.
Yeah.
They get that so wrong. It's like just put a messy bun up and have a phenomenal dinner.
I'll tell you what, like going back and like thinking about it, like I've had some girlfriends that the moments that I've looked at them and I've looked at them and felt my strongest feelings towards them, I don't know that if they've ever been dressed up in any of them. It's always just been hair in a bun, driving in a car on a road trip.
Yeah,
Like,
it goes back to what you said. It's the simple moments.
It is.
It is.
Little, like, life is all about the little things. And that, like, when you talk about, like, and you probably can think this way too, outside of, like, when your daughters were born and the grandkids and when they were born and, like, when you and Tom got married, like, probably your best nights that you've ever had were probably more simple nights.
Oh, 100%.
And that's always been it with me too.
I mean,
like,
silly stuff. I can remember one of the dumbest, stupidest things we ever did, which was hilarious, was we were out after one of his work nights with work, and we hadn't landscaped our house. Okay, pitch black, dark as shit in the desert, right? And we decided that we needed barrel cactus in our backyard. We literally laugh to this day, like, what the hell were we thinking? That was one of the most memorable markers, right? And I'm laughing. I'm like, oh, what was your idea? You were the dude. And he's like, well, I just wanted some cactus, and we got it. But it's like, literally, you're doing this. And it's so funny how those silly moments, You know, the silly
Yeah.
things like that, and even just staying home and making homemade pizza and watching football or whatever. I mean, those are, I think, what you said. We're missing the simple moments. Everybody wants to one up everybody. Even when you
Yeah.
talk about like what I hear now, I have a couple clients and people that we talk about weddings and we talk about. I go, you spend more time on the wedding than you do the marriage.
Right.
And it's so true. It's like everything has to be this. I'm like, but you're planning this. That's fine.
Yeah.
How much more time do you then put into the marriage?
I
And
mean,
and nobody does it.
The marriage is, I mean, the marriage is everything.
It's everything.
And I mean, listen, if you're a man and you want to elevate, if you want to elevate as a man, you go find a rare and good woman and put next to you and watch how far you grow.
Oh yeah.
Like nothing will elevate a man faster than that. God in that.
There's
in my
purpose.
opinion.
There's
And then
purpose.
you get yourself, you take care of yourself. You get your mindset right. You get in the gym. Those things. But I mean, that woman will make you want to be better.
Yeah.
If she doesn't, she's not the right woman.
And the woman has to understand too. You buy the house, we make it a home.
Correct.
You buy the food, we make it
Yeah.
a meal, right? I mean, that's ultimately I think where it's been demeaned with
Yeah.
women and the world today, that you got to go out and get a career and do this and do that. And I think you guys are battling that too.
So let me say something. It's I think this is super important, and I want this to be said because this is one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made in my life, and I think this is actually really important to get out there. Is I at one point dated a fantastic girl, salt of the earth human being from a great family, and her one life goal was really to be a mom. And at the time, I had a problem with it because I too,
Dude.
in my 20s, got brainwashed to be like, oh, I need a girl that has
I need a boss babe.
Yeah, more drive than that. And I look at I forget how long.
How old were you?
I was like probably 26.
Oh my
It was probably 10
gosh.
years ago. And I literally look at myself and I'm like, what a freaking idiot. Like, you are such an idiot, And I mean, like, it worked out for her. Like, she ended up getting married and getting her family and all that, which is great. And like,
Meanwhile,
but-
you're still single, Shawn.
yeah, no, I screwed up like 100%. But like, I just think like, if you're a guy out there and you're like, oh, this girl needs more drive, like, and from a guy's perspective, like, I don't think we really care about how much money you make or what you
No.
do. In fact, to be honest with you, what I've kind of noticed is it doesn't make dating you more enjoyable.
No.
Because like,
You're
we-
competing. You're competing
we
with
love,
stuff.
Like, I think guys love submissive women, and as a guy, you need to do all the right things, right? You need to
Yes.
have your stuff in order.
Yeah.
But I think like once you get a truly submissive woman and like she wants to take care of you and she wants to spoil you and she wants to cook for you and clean and do all those things and make your life easier, and you kind of take care of the big stuff outside of the house and stuff, but like your house gets turned into a home. I mean, it's hard to want anything else.
No, I think the world has really like disillusioned women on what that is,
Yeah.
because I mean, and the thing about like discipline and working, if you are a mother of little ones, you are no more disciplined than
Yeah.
you can't be any more disciplined in that role.
100%.
I mean, you will never work as hard. You will never work sleep deprived. You will never, and even though it's a season, right?
Yeah.
This does, the fruit is there, but I think that the world has done a really great job of lying to men and lying to women. Which
Oh,
tells
absolutely.
which is 100% the enemy, as we know.
I got caught up in it.
Yeah.
100%. And
Well, I think we all did. I
and
mean, I
yeah.
worked before I met Tom, and
Yeah.
I when he said when we sold the gym and he goes, I want you to stay home and raise McKenna, I was just like, ooh, I was going to own the gym and do all these things. But then you realize that, nope, there's nothing more important than this, and that identity changes.
I think it is sad how much we've lied to women, and we've made it very hard for that to be attainable. I will admit that. Like,
Yeah.
we have screwed this thing up so bad that it is very hard to make that attainable, because most people don't have the ability to kind of just have like one income and survive.
Right.
Right. And so that's.
But there are better ways if you do
Correct.
need the double income.
Yes.
Don't get a corporate job.
No, agreed.
mean,
Agreed
no.
with that. And I see that, like, girls that have high paying jobs. I'll be honest, I don't know one that likes their job that has a high paying job.
No, you're right.
I dated a girl who makes phenomenal money. You know what I'm talking about? Like, makes phenomenal money. She hates her job.
Yeah.
Absolutely hates it. Can't stand
Yeah.
it. She complained about it all the time. always telling me I need to make changes, I need to pivot, I need to do this, but like she never would.
Yeah.
And because she
But
was
see,
like tied to it.
The other thing too that's interesting about that is you hear women after a while, they're tired. They get tired of it. We're not wired like men are to continue the grind and the hustle 24/7 and the achievement and the accolades and the right. It's like I hear that so many for women in their 40s. It's like I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of doing this stuff. And I think it's sad that we look at that as weakness rather than redirecting the beautiful energy they do have into their husband and into their families, and which ultimately is into our world.
And I will say that some people do it to themselves and they do have to take accountability for that, because one thing I've noticed is a lot of people are out there like meeting really good people, but just deciding they would rather have fun than like settle down.
They're choosing.
And so they choose that life for themselves, and eventually it blows up in their face. I think
it always will too.
Women especially, but I'm not a huge believer in men not having no time clock either. And I understand
what do you mean by that?
The biological difference. So like women obviously have a biological clock, right? Like they, you can only have kids for so long.
Right.
And I think, once you start to get like to your mid 30s as a woman, it starts to get pretty tough.
Yeah.
As a man, obviously you're not.
Even though I had both mine in my 30s.
Yeah. But like it's not.
I'm teasing. But it's not ideal.
World too,
it's in a different world.
Where a lot of people were a lot more healthy. And
in a different world, and it's not ideal.
Fertility rates are not.
No, they're plummeting.
Yeah. And I mean, like people are really struggling to get pregnant nowadays.
Yeah. No, true facts.
And that's so it is a little different in that aspect.
And then you got the jab that didn't help.
Correct. And then if you're a man, I mean, you can technically conceive children as long as you want. However, I don't necessarily think that's always the smartest way to look at it.
No.
Because you don't.
And that's not always true either, Shawn.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, you look
there's
at
no doubt like your sperm quality is not what it was.
You look at the IVF rates, and a lot of times they want to blame the women. It's also the men.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so what I think as a man is like running around just being a player like into your 40s and just now I'm going to settle down because it's I'm 45 now and it's I've ran out.
You got more tequila than you do have sperm.
Yeah, like I mean that now you're going to start a family, so you're going to be 65 years old, just in your 60s when your kid's graduating high school. Like,
that's not fair to the kids.
Yeah, no, I mean it's like that's not a recipe for success.
No. And it's funny that you say that. So McKenna was married at 21, and then I have 2 little grandbabies, right? Yeah. And the other day we were talking, and she goes, I'm like jamming. I go, what do you mean? She goes, I have you and Dad right now that are like, rock solid trainers, hard, strong. You can do anything you want to with kids. And she goes, and then she was looking, and Boo goes, I go, well, who knows where you're going to be? Because it was funny, because you don't think about your parents aging, right, to become grandparents.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks about that generational stuff.
Well, my sister is going to have her first kid a little bit later.
A little boy, right?
Yeah, little boy. It's going to be named Cooper.
Aww.
And coming in November, so that's pretty exciting. But I mean, my mom just turned 73, and I mean, it's
it makes a difference.
It makes a difference. It makes a huge difference.
It does.
And, my mom being older like that. I mean, and obviously they had us when they were older, and so yeah, it's.
There is a truth to that nobody wants to acknowledge.
But what I think, where I was trying to go with that I think is important, is that I think a lot of times it comes down to just like when you have somebody good, especially in today's world, good people are rare.
Hold tight.
Hold on to them. Don't get rid of good people. If you have a relationship and it can be worked out, work it out. Yeah. Don't start over. You don't. If you have somebody solid that continues to choose you every day, continues to show up, fix it.
They're not disposable.
Fix it. Because here's what happens. One day you're a 22-year-old girl graduating college, and you might have, let's say the average relationship takes 2 to 3 years to turn into like a marriage situation.
Right.
You don't have that many at-bats
before
you're 35.
Mm-hmm.
And what a lot of these people do, girls and guys both, is they let go of really good people
early on in their life.
Early on.
Yeah.
And then they even get to the point where they're around 30 and they're like, I got time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got time. Well, before you know it, you're 35.
Yeah.
And you don't got time.
That's right.
You are out of time.
Yeah.
And you've all of a sudden, if you wanted a family,
Yeah.
especially if you're a woman, now you're up against
the
a
game
battle.
changes. The
and
game
the game
changes.
really changes, and
Yeah.
urgency is important. And it's hard to have a ton of urgency in the 2025 dating market. It
Yeah.
just is, because
Yeah.
there's not a lot of good options out there.
Yeah.
I mean,
And that's a truth, Shawn, I think that you need to drive home, because I don't think people are they've been so, so much propaganda out there
Yeah.
that have pushed everybody away from the ultimate, which is so interesting to me. Even when I talk to people that have different belief systems than I do, and I'm like, well, then why are you on a dating app? You obviously want a person, right? But
Yeah.
yet you want your independence and you want to do your own
But
thing.
a lot of people on dating apps don't want people. What they say they want people. So this is where actions and words have never been more important to pay attention to. You have to pay attention to people's actions. Everybody's saying stuff.
Yeah, true.
And it's almost like, it's to the point now where I feel like a lot, and I see this especially here, relationships are like two people, like they will get in a relationship and then they'll break up, and then that next person that they get in a relationship with, they'll do the exact same thing that they did with the other. It's like the same relationship,
cycle.
carbon copy, like cycled over again. And it's so weird to me. Like there's no uniqueness left. There's no there's no such thing as firsts. And listen, I'm not perfect, but I do think there's got to be some firsts out there that you save for your wife, right?
Yeah.
And I really think that's important. You can't be just going and giving everyone the same treatment willy-nilly, like, because then when you do get a husband or a wife, like, the value isn't there.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, let me ask you a
wanna save
question.
stuff.
Let me ask you a question, and we'll end on this note. How do you feel, and I'm probably going to put you on the spot, but how do you feel about living together before being married?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. I've technically, like, actually never truly lived with somebody. Like, I mean, I've had situations where, like, people have stayed with me for long periods of time, but I've never actually, like, officially, like, we lived together. I think the old school way is probably the better way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, you could probably get away with it in today's world, but the problem becomes is it should be something that's special.
Right.
And I think if you're engaged, maybe if you're in a super, super serious relationship and you absolutely know this is your person and it's just a matter of time before you get married, okay. But that's something that I've always kind of wanted to save for.
Yeah.
And you know this about me. There's only one person that I've ever been with that I was gonna let live with me.
Yeah.
And I stand by that. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want, there's no one else that I should have ever been living with.
But I think it also changes. There's not a marker of, this is mine, this is yours, now this is ours.
Yeah.
That whole thing. It creates territorial divide, I
Yeah.
think is legitimately, and you're giving your husband privileges. Are you giving your boyfriend husband privileges?
You are.
And you're giving your girlfriend wife privileges.
You are. And I think what happens too is a lot of people, when they are in a bad relationship that they need to get out of, if you're living together, you've just made it nearly impossible
it's
to
difficult.
get out of it. And
Yeah.
so now you're feeling like you're going through a divorce almost, rather than like a breakup. And that's not a good situation to be in. So if you are going to go down that path, it just has to be like, this is my person. This is absolutely, we're in agreement. Like, we're doing this. We are doing life together. There is not going to be anybody else. Like, the promises and assurances need to be there. That like,
still think there has to be a ring on it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's ideal. And I just think, like, unfortunately, I think there's a lot of things that we should do that are ideal, but I don't think people will do them.
It goes back to discipline, though.
Correct.
I mean, honestly, it does. I mean, it's easier to live together and to commingle together and coexist together than it is to, this is my place, this is your place. Once we're married, let's create our place.
Yeah.
I just think it's a big thing. So, all right, we're going to wrap up here. Thank you so much, sweetheart, for being here. I appreciate it. This is hopefully going to be the first of many dating conversations we're going to do. As always, if you liked the conversation here, please leave us a review. We really love the 5 stars, by the way. And if you want to hear more things, send us some messages through YouTube if you're watching this on that platform, and we will answer the questions, and I will share Shawn's contact information in there as well. Great resource for any kind of thing like that you have questions about in today's world, honestly, and being on the pulse on that. So thank you again for listening to Forge, and thank you, sweetie.